Shabbat Shalom and Chodesh Tov. Welcome to the new month of Iyar. Iyar is the second month in the 12-month Jewish calendar cycle, and it falls between the grand first month of Nisan, where we have the Exodus and Passover, and the third grand month of Sivan, where we have the wheat harvest and the celebration of the receiving of the Torah. As such, Iyar is a little bit of a middle child in the classic sense, or so I thought. Middle children, it is known now, generally, and of course it's a broad brushstroke, are independent, resilient, and of course have a mind and personality all their own. Iyar is no different. Iyar is an extraordinary month, and it is known as the month of healing. In the Torah, Iyar is called Ziv. That was its old name. Ziv means radiance. And later on, when this month got its name Iyar, Aleph Yud Yud Resh in Hebrew, it was noted that those are the same letters that begin the words in Exodus chapter 15, verse 26, Ani Adonai Rofecha. I am the Eternal, your healer, says God. As such, the month of Iyar, for a long time, I discovered, has been associated with healing and wellness. These two ideas of ziv, radiance, and healing, refuah, are combined in a beautiful Shabbat hymn that many of you will know, Yedid Nefesh. But in the second verse, which is much less known, these exact ideas are woven together. Listen for the Hebrew words. Hadur na'eh ziv ha'olam, nafshi cholat ahavtecha. Ana el na refa na'ala, beraot la noam zivecha. Az titchazek vetit rapeh. V'haita la simchat olam. The words mean, please God, please heal my soul, for it pines for you. Please, by showing it the pleasantness of your radiant light, so that it will be strengthened and healed and will have eternal joy. A lot of mysticism, a lot of Kabbalah bound up in the month of Iyar. The Kabbalist known as Bnei Yisachar reminds us that the manna began to fall in the month of Iyar, on the 15th day when the moon was full. Manna, of course, was considered a superfood long before we had heard of quinoa and acai berries. And the rain that falls in Iyar, if we are fortunate to merit any, is considered especially therapeutic, deeply curative. Folk wisdom says one should stand outside in the rain in the month of Iyar. It is a warm, soothing spring rain, and let it fall on our heads and into our mouths, and it will, we hope, have a healthy and healing effect. Now, Jews are no strangers to the zodiac, and the sign of this time of year, the month of Iyar, largely is the sign of Taurus, the ox or bull. In Hebrew, the word is shor. In fact, when we wish somebody mazal tov, we're actually wishing them that they should be under a good constellation. One of the translation of mazal is a star configuration. So this idea of the sign of the Taurus or of the bull is auspicious in Iyar, because last month, Nisan, was when we planted our seeds. This month is when the ox plows the ground, helping the seeds to grow into the ultimate harvest of Sivan. So that bull, that animal that works the land, particularly portentous here in Iyar. Iyar links the months of Nisan and Sivan through the counting of the Omer. It's a time of growth when in the ancient world we would bring a sheaf of barley. Nowadays we work on the soul. We plant the seeds of healing and wholeness in the soul with meditations and considerations for each day. Tradition teaches also that Miriam's well first appeared during Iyar. So beautiful, healing, nourishing foods are especially important all the time, but particularly in Iyar. as well as good, clean mountain spring water running down from the mountains where snow falls and the melt of spring has begun. But on the larger and much more critical subject of healing, what a perfect theme this is for this time in human history, of course. The need for healing of body, mind, and spirit is so prevalent in our conversations these days. We've just marked the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, April 22nd, and it is aleinu, it is upon us to note how the earth has been responding to this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Though so many bodies are ill and hurting, so many also are healing. And in this time that we hope we are at the beginning of, a time of healing and perhaps even emergence from the worst of this pandemic, it is incumbent upon us to stop and take note of how the planet has responded. Almost every day now, we are receiving and seeing articles and studies that demonstrate how the earth has been calmed and even begun to heal during this time. We have reports of animals frolicking in places where they have been denied access. We have wonderful reports of falling pollution levels, better breathing for people around the world, clearer skies and water, places where nature has not been seen in months or years coming back in beautiful arrays of color and scent. It's probably not a surprise to many of us that this has happened, but to actually watch it in real time is a stunner. Report after report says that although this time has been such a deep wound in the psyche and the body of the human race, it is a wake-up call to see how we might come out of this crisis healthier in body, mind, spirit, and attitude toward one another and toward the planet. In these days following Earth Day, which of course should be every single day, let's just take a moment in the next many days of Iyar to pause and appreciate the majesty of our environment, of which we are such an integral part. We can hurt it, and we do much too often, but we have the power to heal it. Let this time in Iyar be one of reckoning, when we think in these last weeks of quiet and quarantine how we might sit in calmer harmony and in healing with the earth. Now we have a treat this day. If you've been following the service thus far in the morning, you got to enjoy Rabbi Reuben's beautiful rendition of the Haftarah. It's a special Haftarah from the book of Isaiah, and we read it at Rosh Chodesh, but only when Shabbat and Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the new month, fall together. It's a magnificent Haftarah and makes direct reference to the new moon, and that's why we read it. But it is a magnificent piece of poetry, as so much of the book of Isaiah is, that ends with one image after another of comfort and healing. I'll just share with you a couple of the lines in English. For thus says the Eternal One, I will make well-being flow over Jerusalem like a river, the wealth of nations like a stream in full flood, and you shall drink from it. You shall be like a child carried in her mother's arms and dandled on her knees. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you. You shall find comfort in Jerusalem. And from new moon to new moon, from Sabbath to Sabbath, says the Eternal One, all people shall come to worship me. May this be a time of comfort, a time of soothing, a time of refuah shlema, complete and speedy healing for us and for our world. Have a beautiful Shabbat, and may the month of Iyar bring you blessing. Amen.